Hi Max, this is a video about the rainwater setup that we've got. I'm quite glad you've asked about it because it's something I've been working on now for nearly 9 years and we're pretty close to getting it right. So I haven't got a camera and film in me today, so I'm just going to have to do it by hand. So hopefully it still works, but I'll run you through our setup and hopefully it will be helpful for there. Right. So the majority of the rainwater from the roof catchment all goes through the 90mm downpipes and then into this 10,000 litre tank here. So this is a flood fill system. So this actually has water in it at the moment, so it will always hold water, and as long as it's lower than the house, which obviously it is because we're on a slight hill, when it rains this will then pour into this tank. So this tank, if you like, is at the bottom of our system, and we've got a pump here which is currently running because I'm pumping water from this tank up to our main tank behind the house. So that's 5,000 litres there, and I'll show you the back. So the water gets pumped up from that 10,000 litre tank on a copper line. I can control it on a tap here, but it also has a float in the valve up there. So I've just gone copper line for durability, but currently I mostly turn it on if we've got a lot of solar, and then I'm just pumping using the solar. So I'll take you up to the 5,000 litre tank now. So this is the 5,000 litre tank. So at the moment you might be able to hear it's actually the copper pipe here is pumping water into the tank. Like I say, it is on a float, but because it's sunny I've got it switched on to pump. Now we do have a gauge on that one. It's kind of hard to see in this light. The overflow on this goes back into the big tank. So while we're still on, this is one way of doing a first flush. So this tank is fed by this one, which is just a normal gravity feed. So rather than a flood, it just runs down here. But the first probably 10 litres will go into this here. And this inside of it, this is rain harvesting. They've got a few different techniques, but this has a ball inside it, and the more it rains, the further up the ball goes, and then when it gets to here, it diverts it all to the tank. So it just means that the first flush of water out of the gutters, which might have leaves or bird poo and stuff like that in it, will get flushed down here, and then that just drip feeds back into the garden. The other type of first flush diverter we have is this here. So this collects, and this again, this is a good demonstration. So this will catch all of that sort of stuff, and I can just drop that into the garden and put that back in. It does have this one in it as well, but I was finding with this in it as well it was dripping a bit more. But let's see what happens when you put it down. I think it was just clogging up further up, but it can clip on like that. I'll see how that goes for now. So So once all the water's collected or put into this tank, it then is gravity fed through a pipe that comes up, goes underground, and then comes up there. It's the plastic one. That then feeds to this little basic filter here. So this will just filter out the biggest impurities, maybe a few mozzie larvae and stuff like that. And that's then fed through this, which is called a suction hose, into this pump. So this is our newer pump, and I'll show you this system, and then I'll talk more about the old system. So this pump is about 700 watt pump, so it's quite a powerful pump. I actually got this one second hand off a job that I was doing. We upgraded a pump to an even bigger pump, but this one we're finding really runs the house nicely with this current setup, a good water pressure. On top of the pump is this little pressure tank. Now the benefits of this pressure tank is that this will hold probably about 10, maybe 14 litres of water in it, and basically when we run taps and stuff, it will come out of here first. Once this is empty, the pump will then start filling this up and pumping it into the house. So this just means that the pump isn't, if you're cleaning your teeth and you're turning the tap on and off, the pump isn't cycling on and off. So that obviously saves electricity, but it saves the pump as well, because the pump isn't cycling on and off, which is damaging for the motor. So these are really handy, and I'd highly recommend it. And yeah, so we can actually wind the pressure, we can pump the pressure up, etc., just using a valve here. But that seems to be okay at the moment. So again, we got another valve for water. So then the water's pumped to these new filters. So these are two filters. So sediment. So that would be quite a coarse filter, and then down to about a I think 0.5 of a millimeter here, and then it goes onto the UV lamp before it goes into the house. So that is all of the rainwater filterage now, so it all gets filtered through this. So this is a Puratech G7. I'm not sure whether this brand is available there, but this size filter is really good. I'm going to take you and show you the filters that we used to use, and then they're nowhere near as high capacity, and I'll talk to you about why that's not so good. So now I just thought I would quickly show you our old setup and some of the learning that has happened through that. So these are the filters that we've recently taken off. So we started our rainwater journey with these ones. So these are I think 9-inch filters. So what I found with these is they would clog up too quickly and reduce our water pressure when we're running on rainwater. They're also starting to deteriorate because they were in the sun. But this was the first setup. So the other thing is that I noticed that they weren't filtering the water enough. You could still see definitely tannin in there, but it wasn't enough filtration. And when I went for a really high filtration in this, we lost, the pressure drop was just too great. So it meant quite a weak shower. Katie was not happy with that. So then we went up to these bigger water filters. So this is a 3-stage filter. I still left a really coarse one in this, but only in one of them. So one of them I just left empty. One of them I put maybe like a 20 micron or something like that. So quite a coarse high flow filter. And then we went to these. But again, same sort of problem. They would last longer, but they would still start to clog up too quickly. Plus, obviously, if I wanted if I wanted to completely go, remove 99% bacteria, I'd have to go right down to a 0.5 or a 0.2 micron, and that just reduced the flow too much to make it usable all the time. The other thing, we were running this pump, which is so basically these sort of pumps are available just in any hardware store here, because rainwater usage is so common, and a lot of houses I still work on, brand new houses, they'll be 100% mains water because the mains is just not everywhere like it is in the UK. So this pump was a max flow of about 55 litres per minute. So I can't see what the wattage is. Alright, so it's a 530 watt pump. So it's about half a kilowatt. So it's not a little pump, but we found that other pump, which is about 700 watts and 70 litres per minute. That 70 litres per minute is really good. It means I can run the hot tap while somebody's in the shower and they don't even notice. Whereas this one's rated at 55 litres per minute. So, and these are all on automatic pressure. So this controller regulates, as the pressure drops, it kicks on the pump. So I still use this one. At the front of the house there, by the tank, we're using one of these to pump up. So I'm not quite sure what I'll do with it yet, but I'm sure I'll find a use for it. I also use a submersible pump in the tanks for when at the end of summer I completely empty the tanks with the submersible pump, just to clean them out a bit. So these are our last tanks. These are two 1,000 litre thin tanks, so you can see how narrow they are. Maybe only 350 mil wide, probably less than that, maybe 325. Still though, this overflows into the tank down into the 10,000 litre. This one at the moment is only set up for water in the front garden, so it has its own little pressure pump here. This is the little 300 watt pump, so that's perfect for irrigation. It just hooks up to a hose here, and I've got a timer on it now if I want to run the irrigation. This is quite an old pump, but it's still running fine. I don't run a pressure tank on this one because I just turn it on or off pretty much, and I can pump it out, and if it runs out of water it just switches the pump off. So that's quite a good feature if you don't want to have to constantly monitor it. Okay, well, this is a new conclusion to the video because I just reviewed the last one I did and I waffled on way too long. So there was a few things you also asked about, Max. One was, do we have many blackouts? And not really. In 2016 when we built the house we had a few, which is why we did the generator backup, but it's actually been really stable since. Though we do obviously live in a bushfire prone area, so I think having some options is a sensible is sensible. The other thing is with the battery is there is quite a good government subsidy at the moment, which we've claimed. It's still probably about 9 years worth of bills to install it, so it's kind of like paying for our electricity up front for the next little while. But obviously that's on our current rates, and with inflation and the cost of living, etc., going up rapidly, while we've got the money, is probably a good way of mitigating price rises in the future. Same with the having rainwater as a backup. It's not like we're prepping. These are just sensible precautions that mean that we can run and continue to live comfortably if there is any sort of disaster. And again, being in a bushfire prone area, there could well be a disaster. So I guess in conclusion to the water, have as many tanks as you can, more capacity, so in case it doesn't rain as much, you still got good storage, and as big a pump as you can afford and run with your solar system, and then the bigger the filters, the better, the more surface area and the longer they last. All right, catch you later.